Well, in another 6-3 ruling on Friday, justices ruled that local governments can criminalize sleeping and camping on public property, banning encampments of unhoused people. In a scathing dissent joined by Justices Kagan and Jackson, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote for the minority, "Sleep is a biological necessity, not a crime. For some people, sleeping outside is their only option. For people with no access to shelter, that punishes them for being homeless. That is unconscionable and unconstitutional," she said. Can you respond to this decision, Ellie?
Yeah, so Neil Gorsuch, who wrote the majority opinion for the Republicans, basically doesn't think the Eighth Amendment is allowed to exist, right? Like, this is actually a part of a long string of Gorsuch cases where he has written the Eighth Amendment out of the Constitution. Nothing is too cruel for Neil Gorsuch, and no punishment is unusual. So in this opinion, he wrote that criminalizing people, throwing people in jail for the crime of not having any place else to sleep but outside is not an Eighth Amendment violation. It is not cruel and unusual. Neil Gorsuch, and I wish I was making this up, literally analogized sleeping on the street in Oregon because you have no place to live to campers, or perhaps people who are camping out because they wanted concert tickets. It's the same thing, according to Neil Gorsuch. And so just like the city or the county can say, hey, you can't camp outside Ticketmaster just because you really want to see Pearl Jam, is they can use that same law to take homeless people who have no place else to go and send them to jail as well. Neil Gorsuch found no difference between that. It is a cruel decision, and I would go so far as to say it is an evil decision. There is something broken. There is something broken with people who look at people who have no place else to go, who look at people sleeping on the street, who look at people sleeping in their cars because they have no homes, and say, you know what? Get that person in a jail cell. That's where they belong. There's something broken about people who do that. And unfortunately, 6 of those broken people control the Supreme Court for the rest of my natural life.
Ellie, before we go, can you lay out what's at stake in today's highly anticipated ruling on former President Donald Trump's bid for immunity from his federal indictment for trying to subvert the 2020 election and stay in power? And again, even the significance of this putting this to today, extending the term. It's something that they could have decided months ago.
Yeah, speaking of broken and damaged people, right? Look, Donald Trump has already won. Jack Smith asked the Supreme Court to resolve this issue on December 11th of 2023. The Supreme Court has had all of this time to deliberate and consider whether or not Donald Trump is absolutely immune from everything, which itself is a ridiculous position. And even if they disagree with that position here on June 1st at the end of the term, Donald Trump has already won because Donald Trump only made that ridiculous, unconstitutional, ahistorical, stupid argument in order to delay the commencement of his trial until after the election. And because the Supreme Court is only ruling on it today, that goal has already been accomplished. All that we're waiting for today is the shouting. I do not think that today the Supreme Court will agree that presidents are absolutely immune for everything. What I do think they'll say is that presidents are immune for some things, but not other things. But who can say which things are which? And they will send the case back down to the lower court for some other ruling on what acts, official or unofficial, a president could be immune for. That ruling will have to happen in the lower courts. That will get appealed to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. That will get appealed to the Supreme Court. And so if Donald Trump loses the next election, there is a high chance that this time next year, we will be sitting right here, Amy, waiting for the Supreme Court to rule on the appeal of Donald Trump's appeal. And only then will we see whether or not Trump can be prosecuted for his alleged crimes that he committed on January 6, 2021, when he tried to overthrow the government.